and the seller is in the bind. Because if you want to keep the customer, or let's say he has you so deep in the hole, the buyer, you know, you tell him I'm not selling. He says I'm not paying what I owe you. So what do? You know, he owes so much. He's already so deeply in the hole with this buyer. He says I'm not going to sell you. The loss is not, so he strings him along forever. But what is the man really doing? He's a thief. He's a thief. We're saying no. Because you're retaining something. If it's mektos, you have to return it. But he's not returning it. It is a mektos. The seller never intended to sell it to such a person. Mektos usually from the buyer's side. This is from the seller's side. If I would have known what kind of buyer this is not a buyer. The man's a thief. Okay? Let's see the Sisa Sharm.
Isn't it partial that if you steal something, you cannot use it for a mitzvah?
What about if you sell, let's say the owner despaired and you sell it to a third party. So the third party legally, monetarily is permitted to keep it. Could he use it for a mitzvah?
Or if you change its form, you can.
Oh, you mean something that was stolen and the owner despaired?
Despaired, now that the thief sells it to a third party. So the third party is permitted to keep it, monetarily.
And that would be good for his city.
No, sir. Even there, it's not so simple. To say a bracha, he wouldn't be able to say a bracha on it. Although he'll be able to be able to see the mitzvah, but to say a bracha, he would not because it's inappropriate. But he's speaking here, even the thief. Let's say he alters it, takes the fleece, and
because then he takes ownership.
He takes ownership. He says that also. He says to be yotzi, yes, but to say the bracha, not. Okay. He's like the third party. So that.
Would this be the same thing? This guy has to unthread his whole sit in order to give back the bread.
That's not saying. There he has to destroy his life. Dismantling a house, that's called takonos meirish. Dismantling a house is not undoing the tzitzis.
It's like fetish.
What?
No, I mean it says in the Gemara, but it's a fetish.
They had to make a special takona. Yeah, but the takonos meirish is not here. It's not. Depends on the circumstance. We left off on 18. No, we're on page 19. No, at the very bottom of 18. 19. He explained, page 19, he quoted the Gemara that this world is the equivalent of nighttime. He says at night one makes one of two mistakes. Either you don't notice things because it's dark, or you notice them, but what you notice and you believe it to be is a distortion of truth. Because of the lack of light, you don't see what it is, you believe it to be something other than that. We're holding on to the fourth paragraph. Kein chomrius v'gashmus olam hazeh. The physicality and the materialism of this world. Hinehu choshech halayl le'ein haseichel. It's the equivalent of the darkness of night regarding one's intelligence. Because of our conflicts of interest regarding our desire for physical, our evaluation process becomes impaired. And causes one of two mistakes. It doesn't allow the person to see the pitfalls that exist in the world because of our conflicts and our desires and interests. We don't even see it, we don't notice it. He says, as a result of this, the fools, or meaning those who are seduced, a pesi is a pesi. Pitui, what does pitui mean? Onus mefate. Seduction is pitui. Those who are seduced, they go with assuredness, with confidence, and they fall and they are destroyed without them even having a sense of fear. It's like, a person is going off a cliff 100 miles an hour, believing that it's a straight road for another 100 miles. The path of the evil is like intense darkness. They don't even understand in what they're going to stumble, or they're going to fall. They're going to be stumble. How do you say it? Yeah, stumble. V'ama orum ro v'nistor. The cunning person, he sees evil and what's concealed. The one who's actually orum. V'nis upsoyim. But those who are fools, those who are seduced by the material, avru v'nenoshu. They transgress, and ultimately they're going to be punished. The Omer is opposite Mishlei. Uchsil misaber boteach. The Ksil. Ksil is also a fool, because he's totally, Ksil is a hedonist. He passes over, uboteach, and he has confidence. Ki libam bori lem kulam. The hearts are as secure as a large room. V'noflim term yedum mechshuklal. They don't even realize. A person will talk about an ambush. Person all of a sudden you walk right into the ambush. You could have all the weaponry. You think this, but it means nothing if you're not aware what's around the bend. Everything in life is what's around the bend. You never know what's around the bend. So that's the first application of this world being compared to darkness. There's an expression. He doesn't get it. People don't get it. The people, the constituents say to the Rabbi, you don't get it. The question is, who really doesn't get it? The average person doesn't understand, doesn't get it. Hatos Hasheni, the second mistake, Vukoshim in the Rishon, which is even more serious than the first. Shemata Riyosem Achuroim Hara Kilu Humamish Tov. This is the Rambam quotes the Pasuk in Yeshaya. It's the person's conflict is so severe that he says he sees evil as good. Talk about Tikkun Ha'olam. Have you heard that? Tikkun Ha'olam. No. In Biafra, they need a sewage system, right? In New York, they need a Talmud Torah. Now, where do you put your money? Okay, dredge the sewers in whatever, in Bangladesh. V'atov kilu ra, and the good is evil. When we tokach v'schaskim arzikim asem oroim, as a result of this, they intensify and they secure their evil ways because of this. It's not enough that they're lacking. They don't see things in a truthful context. To see the evil that's before them. They try to find proofs and to support their positions of what? Of evil, and their false philosophies. They support it. And this is the greatest evil which engulfs them and brings them to the depths of Gehenna. The hearts of the people became fatty. And the ears are heavy. And their eyes are plastered over. He may see with his eyes and hear with his ears, and his heart may understand. Why is all this? Because they're under the influence of the physicality of this world. And they're actually kvushim. They're incarcerated, he says, enslaved, under the domination, the control of their inclination. Now you can understand in Mishnah Pirkei Avos, Ein lecha ben chorin el mishosik b'Torah. Who's the true free man? The one who studies Torah. Why you're a free man? Now, if you don't incapacitate the Yetzer Hara, you don't do what you want to do. The Yetzer Hara dictates every aspect of your life. Desire dictates. Inclination dictates. The only way that you have control, that you can be rational, to make decisions, rational, objective decisions, only if you have Torah, if the Yetzer Hara has been incapacitated. This is Barasi Yetzer Barasi L'Torah Tavlin. But if you're under, as he says, Memsheles HaYetzer, under the domination, the control of the Yetzer Hara, then what? You're in the dark. Dark is dark. But those who were extricated from this incarceration, they see the truth for what it is. They're able to advise others exactly how to control their lives, because they themselves don't have the ability to appreciate what their predicament is. To be continued. No, we have time. Another minute. He gives a phenomenal mashal, an allegory. He says, what is this analogous to? To a garden which is in the shape of a maze. Maze. They would plant this maze with high hedges. Look, you have hedges. If you got to the Hamptons, you see hedges, 20 feet high. And you have a maze, and you have many routes within the maze, pathways. They all look exactly identical, but there's only one pathway which leads to get out, and you're in the maze. You look up, you can't, there's no indication. You're literally within the maze. Now how do you get out of the maze? There's no way. You have to have, so let's say a person on top of the maze on a ladder, and he sees every pathway, which ones come to a dead end, which ones you're able to get out of the maze. Because he's above it, he could direct you out of the maze. But if you're in the maze, you can't see anything, because they all look identically the same. That's the mashal he gives. The garden that's planted for sport, for amusement. Hayidu Eitzel Sarim, which was known among the noblemen. Shanatias Asus Ksolim, the plantings of these hedges of walls. Benem Shvilim Rabim Nevuchim Orovim, and among them there are many pathways which are confusing. Kulam Dom they all seem to be identical. But what's the ultimate objective? To arrive at a certain room, an exit, which is in the midst of all of them. But all these pathways, some of them lead to that, ultimately that room, that exit. Others, you take the opposite path. You're going the opposite direction. I'll just stop here. I just wanted to tell you something. Chofetz Chaim says a phenomenal mashal. He says, but most people are not doing what you're doing. So what does that say? He means that the whole world is wrong. You're right. I've had that said. Rabbi, that's really arrogance. Everybody's wrong, but you're right. So how would you respond to this? There's something Michael Steiner once said to me. Well, that's pretty, you speak about the authenticity of Orthodox Judaism. Most Jews are not Orthodox. I mean, how could you speak with such arrogance and use certain words on everybody else's religion? How do you do such a thing? So the Chofetz Chaim explains, he says, in Russia, in the winter, everything's frozen, like stone. So you would have wood choppers, lumbermen, they would go into the forest, and they would work for 3 months chopping lumber. And they would earn their year's pay those 3 months. But once spring would set in, and the earth, this ground began thawing, they had bogs that if you go in there, you could sink in like 6 feet into the mud. So the lumbermen, the moment it reached spring, came, they immediately had to leave. The season was over. And the foreman who they worked for would pay them in cash. And when they went into the forest, the sleds, they went in with horses and sleds. Otherwise, you couldn't, because it was snow. So when they would go out, the first thing they would go, even before they left the forest, they'd go to a tavern and buy themselves a few bottles of whiskey, drink themselves drunk, and they would sit, in this sled, and the horse would know the way out of the forest and would take them out, and they'd be in a stupor. what happens? One of these lumbermen is in a stupor, and he wakes up, and he believes the horse is taking him in the wrong direction. So he begins whipping, but the horse knows, which naturally knows exactly how to exit the forest. So the lumberman, he begins whipping the horse and forces the horse to go deeper into the forest. Goes the opposite direction. So now the other lumbermen, they come, and they're also semi in a stupor, and they say the horse is taking them out of the forest naturally. He knows, but they see the sleigh tracks are going the other direction. So everybody whips the horse. Everybody's going back into the forest. So they're going deeper into the forest. And everybody's following everybody else's tail. He doesn't use those words, the Chofetz Chaim, but that's the reality. And he says that's the reality of life. Everybody believes, everybody knows they're going in the right direction, but they're going in the opposite direction. And everybody's following who knows what. So it's not arrogance.
It's
Don't drink and drive.
insulting. The mushal is insulting to the listener because it implies that you are like the lumberman. You're drunk, too much vodka, you're headed in the wrong direction.
We're talking about a stupor. We're intoxicated with physicality.
I know, that's why it's insulting. I mean, people don't, it may be true, but people don't see themselves as being drunk in this life. It's not a complimentary thing to say.
You're not even saying to we speak to ourselves.
No, I understand.
The example they used to give, you go to Times Square, and you get 10 people, everybody looks up at the sky. There's nothing to look at. You have thousands of you, within a moment, if they know, everybody's going to be looking up. What are you looking at? Well, we said those people are evident that there's something to look at. There's nothing to look at. Anybody who's in the advertising business, they know what does it take to sell something. You could sell nothing for a fortune if the packaging and the PR is right. So what does that say about reality? What people understand? You know, they used to have, imagery, smoking. Then they banned the advertisements. Of course, it was considered you're actually entrapment. It was entrapment of the tobacco companies. They're entrapping the youth to make it into something which is suave and glamorous, and therefore you hook people become addicted. So that's exactly what we're talking about over here. To be continued.
But I mean, Hashem created us with the Yetzer Hara to challenge us.
That's the challenge. But you have the ability to overcome that, to meet the challenge.
Right, but it's so few that really do
Okay,
it.
but that's by choice. It's choice.
And how many even reach that level where it's, a perfected type of...
We're not saying achieving the ultimate level. We're not saying the ultimate level.
So we're all destined to fail to a certain extent.
Everybody, not to meet your potential. Not destined. Not destined. Destined means it's meant to be.
Destined not to meet our...
No, it's not, you're not destined not to. You're not destined.
We're all gonna...
We don't. Why? It's by choice we don't. Because we feel we've achieved enough and we're satisfied with less rather than with more.